Happy Mushoku Mondays, everybody. Welcome back to yet another trek from Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation novel series. We are on the last one to leave the nest, part 2 of potentially 3. I'm guessing it's going to be 3 at this point, again, depending on how much we yap. But yes, diving right back into the villainous story of Christina. It really does feel like this entire segment is just Refugion's like, I want to do a villainous arc. I really want to do the whole villainous thing. It's pretty popular right now. Let's do a villainous arc. Okay, who do we got? Who do we got here? Oh, we got Christina. Let's do it with Christina. Have her thrown in there and become the villainous and have her called out in front of the, massive ballroom with false accusations and have her twist the tables on the person. That whole thing there. But it's still fun. It's still fun at the end. Again, getting more insights into Christina's character that, again, we haven't really gotten into too much, but excited to get more into this. But before we do that, hey, chat. Welcome to the premiere. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week after Mushoku Monday. And yes, I appreciate those that drop by for the VOD later. You guys mean a lot to me too. Especially since you guys hit the like button more. I'm going to have a competition between you guys. Who in the premiere versus the VOD watchers? Who hits the like button more? But I really appreciate you guys' support and all that good stuff. But yes, more importantly, greatly appreciate everybody's support channel monetary through Patreon, tips, links, super thanks, memberships, all that stuff. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Last week we had Spud Monkey with 16 months at this point. I thought you'd been around longer than then. It's like one of those ones where I'm like, I thought you were around longer than then. But yeah, 16 months. I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. And of course, as always, Royce Moist with a whole bunch of supers, just sprinkling them the entire premiere. Thank you so much for your support. But that said, let's dive into Chapter 3, Downfall. Huh? Viola seemed unable to understand the situation. She couldn't comprehend why the surrounding students were pointing their finger at her. It wasn't just Viola. No one present seemed to grasp what was happening. Then, breaking through the confusion, Elizabeth stepped forward. She narrowed her eyes, raised the corner of her lips, and with a serpentine smile declared, "All the wicked deeds Lady Viola spoke of were actually committed by none other than Lady Viola Yellowsnake herself." Elizabeth as well. Okay. I did technically say at some point what she ends up joining her group or whatever. Like she gets broke and then she ends up being brought in by, Chris. It technically happened. It technically happened. Even her. And I could see this. Again, with Elizabeth, she did her own thing. She tried to take down a Chris. It blew up in her face and she got probably massively humbled at that point. She got broken. And at that point, she probably went under the foot of Viola. And I bet at some point, Chris helped her as well. That she was down her luck, and Chris came along and said, don't bully her. But she was bullying you. She was going after you. It doesn't matter right now. She's no longer in that position. She's not doing that anymore. She's just trying to survive. And she probably protected her. Elizabeth announced triumphantly, loud enough for everyone present, not just Viola, to hear. We are all witnesses. At her words, the gathering students all nodded firmly and began speaking in agreement, one after another. That's right. I was treated like a slave by her. I'll testify too. Lady Viola strangled my pet hawk, Mochi. What the hell? Strangled a hawk too? Me too. Lady Viola ripped my textbooks into shreds. Viola still couldn't comprehend what was happening. All she could do was let out a strained voice, her face frozen in panic and disbelief. Why? At that word, Elizabeth snapped. Why? After treating me like a servant for 2 whole years, you dare ask why? Her voice rose in fury as she looked moments away from grabbing Viola by the collar. I've been waiting for this very moment, the moment I could expose you for your crimes in public. And it's not just me, everyone here. Everyone's been waiting for the chance to take revenge on you. You betrayed me. Viola's mind finally caught up with reality, and her expression changed instantly. Her calm, composed, confident look twisted into something demonic. Like she can't keep it hidden anymore. The true nature comes out. Like an enraged monster. Pointing her finger at each of the people who had just pointed at her, she shouted furiously. You, all of you, do you have any idea what will happen to you for doing this? This was rage in its purest form. Something that should never have happened had just occurred. Something utterly unforgivable. Her overwhelming fury made that clear. Yet Elizabeth responded with a smile, brimming with confidence. Now you just expose it in front of everybody. You're in the wrong area for this. Like, typically you could do this. And this is the whole habit that she's formed. She has this habit that she's able to have whatever she wants. And thus, whenever it doesn't happen that way, she can just burst at them and get away with it. But now she's in a setting that you really shouldn't do that. Oh my, and what exactly will happen to us? Do you really need me to explain it? The Topcoat family is drowning in debt owed to the Yellowsnake house. Which means, if I so desire, I could reduce you to not just servants, but as slaves. Viola screamed at Elizabeth. Debt. It wasn't just Elizabeth. Everyone Viola had summoned to serve as their evidence seemed to be in her debt as well. And perhaps not only debt. Some of them probably had other weaknesses she could exploit. Either way, Viola had something that allowed her to control them like pawns. However, Elizabeth didn't back down. On the contrary, she looked as though she'd been waiting for Viola to say that. Yeah, that's sort of the question mark there, and that's sort of the assumption here is like, yeah, she probably used something on these individuals that forced them to have to call out to Chris as being the one that did these things, knowing full well they were wrong. But it seemed like at some point they obviously went to Chris and informed her, and then she said, okay, let's just throw it back at her. But the willingness for them to go to Chris, that's huge. That's technically huge. Again, some of them have massive debt to. That's going to probably destroy the rest of their entire life. They're going on a limb here to go to Chris. They're literally putting the rest of their life at risk by going to Chris. They should just go along with what Viola wants, because that's going to ensure their future. So there had been some major trust that was built here. Debt? Her voice was calm, flat even, but her expression was anything but. It was the face of a devil, perfectly befitting the title of villainous. No, it's supposed to be Christina. It's supposed to be Christina. You're taking the role. Then you should know that of yesterday, I've already repaid it in full. What? Viola was dumbfounded. Elizabeth took a piece of paper from her pocket, as if to say, here's the proof. This is the receipt of full repayment. You can see their family crest right there, can't you? That's impossible. How? That amount should have taken at least 10 years to pay back. At that, Elizabeth's expression softened, tinged with both regret and satisfaction, as she looked towards a certain girl. Chris helped me. Chris? The very same Chris you despise so much? Yes, that girl. Despite all the harassment I put her through, she extended her hand to me with compassion. Again, that's my assumption. It was going to be that she was going to be at her worst, and Chris was not going to look at her any different. Again, her whole point here was helping out individuals that were under people's feet. And even though she was nasty, there's a good chance that Chris didn't even know who she was. Again, my whole joke back there with the whole drug thing was like, she probably had no clue what happened. It just kind of happens, and then cut the next scene, and she's being hauled away, and Chris is like, who was that? What? There could be a chance here that she literally just doesn't even know this person was doing all this bad stuff to her, and then, or at least completely forgot about her. And then she's seeing Elizabeth, and she's under somebody's foot, and she steps out just like with everybody else. It's no different. Elizabeth looked in the distance, dreamily, as though she was gazing upon a goddess. Oh, come on. Stop. Seeing this, Viola let out a sharp, mocking laugh. Ah, I see. So that's how it is. You repaid your debt you owed me with money borrowed from Chris, and now you've turned on me. In the end, all you did was change the masters. How foolish. No, I don't owe anyone anymore, because Chris taught me how to create a new business. Okay, now Chris apparently is a business expert? What? Up to this point, where we're at right now, at this current moment, I have gotten zero indication that Chris was some genius, that she's some smart person that knows a lot of stuff. I think it implied the fact that she did well, but she's not a genius. She obviously didn't graduate top of the class. Okay, let's see. Maybe they'll explain how she knows about businesses and how to create new businesses. Why I say that, it's not even just the fact of being a genius. Like the ability to create new businesses, to create new ideas, new concepts that will be a business. This isn't saying like, I mean, it isn't implying the idea of new ideas, but just the idea of creating something from scratch or whatever. It takes somebody with a lot of vision. It's vision, really, is what it is. Elizabeth then began to explain the financial plan Chris had proposed to her. It wasn't some part-time job. Far from it. After all, the amount nobles lent and borrowed amongst themselves was nothing short of a fortune. Again, I'm curious to hear about Chris and why she's so smart. To create that enormous sum of money, they started a business. The main focus of the business was to provide legal consultation to merchants. The Topcoat family, which had long overseen matters of law. This is the same person, right? Am I misremembering? The Topcoat family is the ones that had the drugs, right? It's been a week since I read the previous part, but I'm pretty sure I remember all this stuff. Yes, from Topcoat family. Yeah, the murmurs spread around the very well known. Yeah. Okay. The Topcoat family, which had long overseen matters of law, had many retainers who were well versed in legal affairs. While giving while giving those retainers work, they also provided wealthy merchants with tax-related advice. Again, this is the family that got completely screwed over because they had this drug creation thing that they were doing that wasn't allowed by the kingdom. Which, by the way, I've completely glossed over that last Mushoku Monday. But yes, it was very interesting to see that seemingly there is... It might not be the same one. Let's be honest. It might not be the same one. But there is a aphrodisiac that is being worked on, or at least there is regulations around aphrodisiacs, thus implying they are creating them. Whether it's the Luke juice to that potency, don't know. But apparently it's been returned. Again, it's supposed to be in this region. It's supposed to be in Asura Kingdom here. But anyways, who's going to the Topcoat family for legal advice after they've just been destroyed? They've just been destroyed. Who's going to them for legal matters? Anyways, the merchant's profit within the Asura Kingdom increased, and a portion of the profits went to the Topcoat family. While this technically meant a loss for the Asura Kingdom, most of the taxes nobles imposed on merchants in each city were wasted on frivolous things anyways. And because the merchants made more profit, more money ended up circulating into the kingdom. Considering the balance, one can say the impact on the nation was almost negligible. Again, I'm curious if they'll explain, like, why she's so genius, because I've never got that impression before. It's not a bad thing. I'm happy for her to be a genius. It's just, this kind of came out of left field. Though, and it's not giving her credit, though she does have a very smart friend in this school, and it could be potentially her that thought this up. It's just, for some reason, she's giving Chris the credit. In this way, by doing business with merchants, the Topcoat family managed to repay its debts. It's not just me. Everyone here no longer has any weaknesses for you to exploit. When Viola looked around, the students all nodded firmly as if to say, that's right. They refrained from hurling insults only because they were before Ariel's presence. You probably thought none of us could ever resolve our situations and didn't even bother paying attention, but Chris took care of everything, one by one, carefully. At this point, the people around them finally understood what was going on. In short, Viola had been trying to use the people whose weaknesses she held to frame Chris. But Chris had seen right through it. By the time of the graduation ceremony, she had eliminated all the evidence Viola had gathered, and even turned those very pawns onto her side, delivering a perfect counterattack. Again, I'm expecting it's going to be the other girl. I don't think it's going to be Chris. I think Chris is orchestrating it, but I think the knowledge of how to tackle those issues is probably from the people around her. How underhanded. Oh my. Who's the one playing underhanded here? Chris respected your absurdly high pride enough not to cause trouble before graduation, and even allowed you to have the top spot, and yet you were scheming in secret all along. When she heard that Chris had allowed her to take the top spot, Chris made a puzzled face. but no one noticed it. She's like, what? No, I'm just not that smart. It's just assuming that she gave it to her. She's so nice. She's such an angel. Again, this is the same girl that was looking off in the distance like she's looking at an angel. The angel Chris even let you take the top spot. And Chris is over like, no, I didn't do that part. No, it's not that far. Judging by that expression, she probably just tried her best but couldn't make it. And in any case, the rest of it seemed to be true. The surrounding students nodded in agreement. Even the nobles' reactions shifted, realizing the truth, and their gazes towards Viola grew harsher. Amongst them was Edward. He glared at Viola, his eyes filled with anger, towards her lies and towards himself for not refuting them sooner. How could you do something so despicable and feel no shame? When Edward said that, Viola's face wavered for a moment, but she quickly clenched her teeth and shot back defiantly. I feel no shame whatsoever. She didn't even try to make excuses anymore. Viola bared her true feelings completely. Losing to some backwater brat from a Noah like her, and having her steal you away, that would be the true disgrace of Asura noble. Edward's eyes widened. A backwater brat from a Noah? How dare you? Her father is a trusted ally of Her Highness. That is true that he hadn't been granted a noble title in Asura, but he's treated as equal to royalty within the kingdom. And yet you, no matter how great he is, a hick town is still a hick town. She's nothing but a country bumpkin. I've hated Chris from the very beginning. Jeez. Again, this is a continued thing where they view these areas as like backwater or whatever. And it's like, it's a very nice area. It's just, to them, it's a country bumpkin. To them, it's some backwater village. It's interesting. Again, it's always in the eye of the beholder. But again, it goes back to what I was saying before. Her biggest motivation here is that she hates the idea of him possibly getting with her. What's the sad thing here is that it's kind of more pivoting it away from the initial impression here, which is that she actually likes Edward. It's turning it to more the idea that it's the element of losing to Chris. Not just losing Edward, but losing it to Chris. Because that would make her look like, again, oh, she's the one that lost Edward, that girl from the country. Wow. Viola had despised Chris ever since she first enrolled. She had entered the academy as a friend of the talented Elizabeth, though others saw her as her lackey and as a classmate of Edward, whom she had long admired. She thought that she had lived a shining academy life befitting a high-ranked noble, but Chris ruined everything. A naive, flower-brained little girl from the sticks. She caught Edward's attention, caused the downfall of Elizabeth, and as a result, Viola's own status plummeted as well. What followed was hell. Days when hardly anyone respected her. She skillfully used Elizabeth to barely manage graduating at the top of the class. Though her family name had fallen into disgrace, she was still talented. But Chris was the one she could never forgive. She couldn't let it in with Chris stealing Edward from her. This feels off, and this could just be my own brain trying to connect this, the events of what they've kind of unfolded here about Elizabeth and her situation with her family, and then over here, Viola and her desire to come out on top and her engagement with, Edward. It feels like it's getting the two of them mixed up or swapped wrong here, or maybe possibly the wrong names were placed in wrong places. But what's odd about this whole situation is, despite the fact that Viola was set to marry Edward, it seems to be giving a lot of impression here that she herself is not of a good status, or that her family's not doing very well. Now, right here, it's saying the family name has fallen into disgrace. She was still talented. It's seemingly obviously talking about Elizabeth. Her family has gone to ruin, but she's still really smart, and Viola can use her. But again, everything else seems to be implying this idea that Viola's not important. And the only reason that she's important is because she's following Elizabeth, and Elizabeth is really smart. But again, with a setting like this, nobody gives a crap about how smart you are. Yes, it's great for the person that gets to stand up on that stage and give an address before, the king of the nation. But who cares other than that? It's always about status. And I would see that a lot of people would not look down upon Viola because she's set to marry the prince of the kingdom. Why is that not important to people? Why do they not see that as being valuable to want to be around? I, personally, if I was there, if I had a chance to be with Viola and hang out with her, damn straight I would. I'm sorry. She's a nasty person. And yes, technically what she does, I would probably question and I would probably want to push back on. But just status alone, I would want to be in the presence of Viola because your future's set. Why would her status plummet the moment Elizabeth has issues? What? That doesn't make any sense to me. That in my brain, that doesn't make any sense to me. Even if she doesn't have Elizabeth to exploit for knowledge and grades, she's still going to have power from status. It feels a little disconnected there. Even if she had fabricated charges, she wanted to drive Chris into a corner and make Edward lose faith in her. If possible, she wanted Chris expelled from the academy, erased from history itself. To think you could be this foolish. Edward clenched his fist at Viola's words, but then slowly released them. The anger vanished from his face. What replaced it was a look of exasperation and resignation. Edward's patience had finally reached its limit. Enough. The truth was, Edward had never particularly had interest in Viola as a woman. She had no special qualities, no talents that stood out. Everything she said was something he had heard before. After enrolling in the Oxford Royal Academy, she had approached the capable Elizabeth to join the upper social circles, and once she was in, she assumed that being part of it made her special too. To Edwards, she was a type of dull, unremarkable noblewoman who made up 99 out of 100 Austrian ladies. And again, why is she his fiancée? That's the part I'm starting to kind of wonder now. They're really downplaying how important she is and how she's, again, not very somebody he doesn't want to be around otherwise. Still, she was his fiancée, even if it was a decision made by their parents. As a prince, he had a duty to treat her accordingly. He had done his best to fulfill that duty, to treat her with the respect her position demanded. But today, right here and now, Edward changed how he saw her. She wasn't just another ordinary woman. She was a fool, someone who would trample upon others for their own ends, who didn't see people as people. Edward now despised her. And as a prince, to fulfill his duties as a member of the royal family, he raised his head and declared in a voice that everyone could hear, "I will one day be involved in this nation's diplomacy. I cannot marry someone who would publicly insult a foreign dignitary as a backwater brat. I hereby annul our engagement." Good point. Good. If that's his future, like he's already set, this is what he's gonna be doing. I kind of assume that he's not gonna be set to being like the king or anything like that. That's not an assumption I would ever have with his family, just because, again, it's not really set that it has to be a male, and thus a male heir of Ariel has to be the king unless there's another, older brother. It hasn't set that stuff in stone, but it's at least implying this is something that he wants to do, or he's going to be doing, or is assigned to do. And if that's the case, yes, especially Rudius right now, with the whole Orsted Corporation and stuff like that, that's somebody that you shouldn't be insulting. And I wouldn't want that person to be my wife if she's so willingly doing that. Or at least has that. Key point here, put aside Rudius. The key point here is that she's willing to insult somebody of another nation. Plain and simple. That she looks down upon people of other nations and other locations. If he's going to be a diplomat, having a wife that looks down upon other countries like that is not good. At those sudden words, all the color drained from Viola's face. Engagement annulment. Somewhere in her heart, she had believed that this would never happen. She had assumed that it was impossible. However, this was a public venue. Yes, a public venue. A perfect stage where every important person was gathered. A perfect opportunity to utterly crush Chris and drive her out of the Oscar Kingdom. It was Viola herself that had chosen this place, and now that very place was the one that had sealed off her escape route. Yep, very villainous, very villainous type of story opening right here. Even the annulment of the engagement is in here. It's flipped. No, that matter is... Even so, Viola stretched her legs towards the only path of escape that she could find. If something like this were to happen, she had already thought of what direction to run. This isn't something that could be decided between the two of us, so... Yes, originally, the matter of engagement was not something to be decided by the individuals themselves. After all, this marriage had been arranged between their parents. It was a decision made by the heads, who looked to the future and chose what would bring the greatest benefit to both families. Again, I'm starting to wonder what kind of benefit Ariel's seen in this family. And again, it's something that would have been arranged a long time ago. And again, specifically made for Ariel, specifically, before she lost the two other boys. Unless one went through the heads, discussed it, and presented a legitimate reason that convinced them an annulment could never be granted. And moreover, one of the family heads was the king herself. The king was already busy, and even high-ranking nobles who managed the finances of the kingdom could not easily gain an audience with her. Both the establishment and dissolution of the engagement took time. Viola was a woman of cunning. Given enough time, she could manipulate the situation, find a way to make the annulment vanish altogether. She was confident of that. If only it weren't now. If only it weren't here. If only it weren't right after she had just made a huge blunder. Ariel's over there like, that's cool. It's cool. I agree. I see. Your argument makes perfect sense. Right now, in this place, everyone involved was present. Edward and Viola, the two directly engaged. Carter Yellowsnake, the head of the Yellowsnake family. And, isn't that right, Mother? Ariel Anemoi Asra, the king of the Oscar Kingdom. Ariel cast a cold, piercing gaze around the hall. A look... Yeah, I was about to say, a look she very rarely ever showed. I was about to say, wait, Ariel's looking with a cold, piercing gaze? She's a king now. We're finally seeing her act kingly up on a stage for once. It's been something we've not really seen. We've only seen like her being silly in her bedroom with Rudius coming to visit. She cast a cold, piercing gaze around the hall, a look she rarely ever showed. Every movement she made carried an air of authority that silenced the murmurs of the crowd. Viola, at the sound of her voice, the heated atmosphere of the venue instantly turned, chilling. Do you have anything to say for yourself? It was Ariel. The words of Ariel Anemoi Asra, king of the Oscar Kingdom, a voice that mesmerized people since her youth, a voice filled with power. Viola's face had gone so pale she looked on the verge of fainting. Her expression changed rapidly. Panic, confusion, anger, resentment, sadness, pity, pleading, disgust, worry, fear, guilt. Perhaps if she had been calmer, tougher, capable of accepting defeat, or daring enough to gamble when cornered, things may have gone differently. Even while taking damage, she might have minimized the losses and somehow escaped. However, she lacked the experience to act like that in this situation. Born the daughter of a high-ranking noble, pampered despite lacking talent, nor putting any effort, always surrounded by those lower standing, and having lived believing that whining a little could always make things go her way, she couldn't handle it. I mean, technically, earlier it implied the idea that things were falling apart around her, so she's dealt with hardship before, it's just not to this level. She still had somebody to put under her boot. This is the first time she has nothing under her boot. She's literally under the boot of everybody right now. The words she finally uttered were dreadful. I'm not the one at fault. Christina set me up. She's trying to humiliate me in front of everyone. She blackmailed them into giving false testimony. It's cowardly. Such underhanded tactics can't be tolerated. Christina is the one in the wrong. I did nothing wrong. She crashed out. Done. Put a pin in it. That's done. That's gone. Out of here. Just take her out. She's good. Jeez, from that point on, her words were incoherent. In a hysteric frenzy, she screamed that everything they had said was a lie. She completely denied her earlier statements, piled lies upon them, shrieked that compared to Chris's supposed faults, she was still better. Oh my gosh, even go that far? Even still, I'm better. What? That she wasn't the one to blame. She even started diverting the argument, saying that for a commoner of a low-ranking noble to frame a high-ranking noble like herself was absurd, and they should all be punished for the crime of lèse-majesté. Her behavior was disgraceful, unbefitting of a graduate of the Astra Royal Academy. The proud figure everyone had acknowledged as worthy of graduating at the top of the class was gone, and of course, that was exactly how Ariel saw it as well. She sighed, didn't even bother responding to Viola. Shaking her head as if to say, this conversation is meaningless. She called for two people who were likely nearby. Two men immediately stepped forward. One was the headmaster of the Astra National Academy. The other was Carter Yellowsnake, head of the Yellowsnake family. The headmaster was drenched in cold sweat, while Carter's eyes were wide open, his body trembling. Both of their faces were pale. Why is the headmaster of the... Why is the headmaster of the academy upset? Like, he didn't do any, I guess the fact that he allowed all the stuff they've been talking about to unfold and didn't put a stop to any of it. Both of their faces were pale. Ariel fixed them with a cold, piercing gaze, then turned towards the principal and spoke. Headmaster of the Astra Royal Academy. Yes, Your Majesty. Someone like this is unworthy to be a graduate of the Astra Royal Academy. Yes, indeed, Your Majesty. I agree. Yes, I agree. In the name of Ariel Anemoy Astra, I order that this person's graduation be revoked and that she be expelled. The moment Ariel gave that decree, Viola let out a scream, as if desperate to stop her from finishing. She raised her voice to interrupt the order of the king herself, something no properly educated person would ever dare to do. And on top of that, she even raised her hands and tried to run towards Ariel. She done. Stick a fork in it. She done. Naturally, she was immediately restrained by Ariel's guards. Don't go here. Naturally, she was immediately restrained by Ariel's guards. Viola was thrown to the ground in an instant, her arm twisted behind her back. Ariel didn't spare her even a glance, turning her attention instead towards the head of the Yellowsnake family. Carter Yellowsnake. Yes, Your Majesty. After graduation, I had intended for Edward to serve the royal family in diplomacy, primarily in the northern territories of the three great magic nations. Do you think it's fitting for the wife of such a man to insult one of those nations, the kingdom of Nornoa, as a mere hick town? Not in the least, Your Majesty. Then I will honor Edward's wish and annul the engagement between Edward Anemoy Astra and Viola Yellowsnake. Is that acceptable? Yes, Your Majesty. He's like, he doesn't say anything. Like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Okay. Please don't kill me too. Please don't destroy me too. Carter didn't raise his head. Unlike his daughter, he was an honest and loyal man. What his daughter had done was, as head of the family, his own responsibility. His daughter had disgraced the honorable graduation ceremony of the Ashra Royal Academy, lost her composure in front of everyone, and been restrained like a criminal. Yes. It just keeps getting worse and worse. Like, you should have just stopped way back there when everybody pointed at you. Just go, just kidding, or something like that. Just play it off and move on. But the fact that you just keep the outburst, yelling, chasing after Ariel to stop her, being thrown on the ground like a criminal, that hole just keeps getting deeper. Just keep digging it further. It was shameful, humiliating. He would have preferred to deny she was even his blood. Yet Carter was an honorable man. He intended to bear his daughter's disrespect himself. Whatever judgment was handed down here and now, he would accept it. This poor guy. You raised him, though. Ariel knew very well that Carter was that kind of man. That was precisely why she had chosen his daughter as her son's fiancée. Finally explaining why. It's legit just him. Not her. Not the family. Carter. That's an interesting thing there. It's Carter himself is the reason why she made that agreement. He's an honorable man. He's very respectful. He knows his position. He does his job right. Okay, I'll make that bond with him. And turns out, his daughter's crap. He's a good man, it's just he raises bad daughters. The daughter was foolish, and the engagement was now dissolved, but the father bore no fault. At most, he could be blamed for failing in her upbringing. However, amongst Asura nobles, it was rare for a father to be directly involved himself in a daughter's education. And that's the sad reality there. I mean, that's similar to the whole situation with Paul that we've seen, is that there's like a horrible connection there with the family. They just don't raise them well. Same thing with Edis. I mean, it kind of implied that with Edis as well. Not as much insight into that whole upbringing, but you'd assume there probably not much connection to the family. They leave the upbringing to literally whoever they hire. And no matter how one raised a child, there would always be those like Viola. Those who relied on family status, grew arrogant, and tried to manipulate those around them. It was inevitable. Yeah, pretty much everybody in that room is literally going, whew, wasn't me this time. Wasn't my child that did something stupid before we got done with all this stuff. As long as hierarchies exist, such outcomes could not be avoided, and to condemn someone for something unavoidable went against Ariel's sense of honor. It makes me kind of wonder that they don't put more strict rules into play, or at least have more, monitoring of what these people are doing in these schools. It's supposed to be a school that doesn't have that status upon them, but it's still happening, which is technically all schools. As much as we have restrictions and rules at any school, people are still going to exploit it. Those authorities within power are not going to be taking the action they should be taking. It's going to happen no matter what. To the loyal, she believed one must give reward, not punishment, and as a reward for his steadfast loyalty. In this matter, I have no intention of lowering my estimation of the Yellow Snake family. That's good. That she says that now. That she says that in front of everybody. There's obviously a wrongdoer here, and it's his daughter, and she is reprimanding that daughter by breaking that engagement. That's the cause and effect there. But she's making sure to go out of her way to essentially announce to everybody in the room, I will not lower their position. I will not lower my estimation of this family. They are still a good family that I will have my trust in. Just not the daughter. They just have a problem child that they need to fix that I won't have anything to do with. That said, there was one more person to consider. A girl who'd been falsely accused and nearly lost everything. Ariel knew that girl's father well. He currently wore a dumbfounded look, drained expression, but once he had grasped the situation, he might very well fly into a rage and confront Ariel with furious words. Ariel wouldn't mind hearing a few complaints, but for appearance's sake, she still needed to issue some kind of punishment, otherwise the man's honor would not be satisfied. Even so. However, I forbid any acts of resentment or retaliation towards anyone who took part in this revenge drama. You are to accept the insult to your family's name with grace. I'm deeply grateful for your majesty's generosity, and I order that your daughter's education be redone. Yes, your majesty. Take it, go. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All things considered, this is ending well for you, dude. The one who should be punished was not the head of the family, but the daughter, and as king, Ariel did not consider this offense severe enough to personally deliver punishment herself. She entrusted the matter of the daughter's discipline entirely to Carter, confident that as a loyal servant to the royal house, he would see it done properly. After this, I would hope so. If he's supposed to be as loyal as he is, and this happened, I would hope so. You have somebody here that makes Rudius look like a saint as a father. That is all. You may go. Yes, Your Majesty. Carter bowed to Ariel, then quickly led away his restrained daughter, escorted by guards, as he's a part of the hall. Naturally sympathetic gazes followed him as he went. Again, they're all like, oh, that poor guy. At least it's not me. At least I'm not the one with the child that's had a problem. This was supposed to be the graduation ceremony where his daughter would graduate at the top of the class. He must have been filled with pride. That's true as well. In fact, Carter had boasted about her to the others during the ceremony, and it probably felt genuine. Even to Rudius, he had said with a bashful smile, before she entered the academy, my daughter was rather arrogant and unmotivated, but it seems she'd worked hard here, and I'm proud to say that she's graduating as valedictorian. Dude. The stuff that she didn't gain herself, apparently. And now, that same daughter had just self-destructed in public and shamed him beyond measure. One couldn't help but pity him. Phew. Ariel watched Carter leave and exaggeratingly shrugged her shoulders. To think that on such a glorious day, our top graduate would be gone. Truly unprecedented, isn't it? I think there's another person that could step up there, I'm guessing. There's another person that could step up there. Elizabeth? Maybe? She then looked around with a slightly playful gesture. Her demeanor seemed to say, there was a bit of an incident, but I'm not angry. Let's continue the celebration. It was an uncharacteristic attitude for her, but if she didn't put on that kind of act, the graduation ceremony itself might very well have been canceled. I don't see that being uncharacteristic for her. I guess to everybody in the room, it seems uncharacteristic of her. Today was the graduation ceremony. There had been an incident, but for most of the students, it was something unrelated. There was no way they could call off the ceremony. Yeah, I mean, all these people are here for a reason. Move on. If the top student is gone, then who on earth will make the toast? At that, Luke, who had been quietly waiting at her side before anyone noticed, stepped forward and offered a suggestion. Luke is here? That dirtbag Luke is here? What has he got to say? What does this dork have to say? Nobody cares about Luke. God damn, I almost forgot Luke existed. He just pops up every now and then. The second-ranking student, I believe. I see. Then, let the second-ranking student step forward. From right in front of Ariel, someone took a step forward. It was Edward. What? Edward? I think at some point it said that he was top of the class or really smart. Mother, I'm the second-ranking student. I see. So it was you. As expected of the Prince of the Osra Kingdom. You deserve praise. I am deeply honored. Then, top student, no, graduate Edward. Please give the address on behalf of the graduating class. Ariel spoke in a slightly theatrical tone. The faint amusement on her face might have been because such incidents had become rare in the royal palace recently, or perhaps because she had a hunch that a plan she had given up on years ago might, by some twist of fate, be back on track. She likes this happen because it gives her an excuse to get her boy in with Chris. As I was saying earlier, I figured that she was sending Edward to this school to get with, Chris. And that's the only reason that he's been following her around. But this implies that she only now is seeing the opportunity. Now, it could be more in the idea that, yes, she was hoping for that to happen while they're at school together. She may have even, nudged him towards her. Hey, check out that Chris girl. But there was still that issue where she's like, but I've already agreed with this guy who's very loyal, and I want to make some strong bond with his family, Carter. But if something happens, I'm going to let it happen, and it just happens. This happened right here, and she's like, suddenly, all right, now I don't have to struggle over this. This can actually happen now. Yes, however, Mother, there's someone more fitting than I to serve as representative. This person saved many students, and even turned former enemies into allies. A person who embodies the ideal of the Austrian Royal Academy itself. You're going to give it to Chris? I guess it's going to be more than just grades. And who is this person you say saved many students, Edward? Edward pointed, as if it were natural, towards one girl. Of course, her. Huh? When she suddenly found herself the focus of countless gazes, she just looked blankly confused. I'm guessing it's Chris. Chapter 4, Career Path. No, I'm too embarrassed. What a blunder. Right after the toast, Chris came up to me and said that. Her face was bright red. Well, that was to be expected. She had been nominated by the prince to step forward, but ended up stammering and fumbling her words, showing an ungraceful side to everyone watching in a way unbefitting for a graduate. Still, the content itself was excellent. Do I want to know? Do I want to know what the content is? The Oscar Royal Academy was supposed to be a place where those with true ability and talent could receive advanced education, yet she boldly criticized the current trend, how it had become just like other Austrian noble schools, where family background took precedence. Again, they've implied this before. This is what this school was supposed to be all about. The hierarchies aren't there, which, again, implies to me here that she's actually knowledgeable of this, that she's aware this is a difference here than anywhere else. She said that she herself had entered through her family's influence, but that those who truly deserve favor were ones who rose up through pure ability. This sounds off. She herself entered through her family's influence. Rudius's influence obviously gave her the position to enter this academy. But I feel like the second part of the sentence should be separate. Yeah, that's great for me and everything. I got here because of this, but the people that deserve favor or attention should be people that, use their ability, their smarts. They learn and apply their knowledge. Not me. In fact, there were many students who had studied harder, shown more passion, and achieved greater results than her, Viola, or Elizabeth. If such people were more properly recognized and honored as top graduates, the school would surpass the renowned Magic University and truly become the best place to learn in the world. That's what she declared. It probably wasn't a very pleasant speech for Austrian nobles. Some of them think that just being a noble is a status in itself. Indeed, several of them were visibly displeased. Well, yeah, and they technically didn't come to this academy. They don't seem to understand what this academy is about, or at least they don't want to, presumably don't want to even accept what this academy is about. They probably don't like this academy. It breaks off from the norms they expect. I didn't expect to have to make a speech, and they told me to do it so sudden like that. There's no way I could do it well. No, it was good, but I was deeply moved. Maybe it was just parental bias, but the little crybaby who once dreamed of fantasies and ideals had grown up enough to think about such practical and realistic things. It almost made me tear up. And honestly, it's a bit surprising as well. It's, again, we don't really have much of a build-up of her as a character. It doesn't really give us a sense of, how smart she is, how clever she is. It's just, this happened, she looked kind of goofy reacting to it, and then said, "No, don't do that! Please say it was all a joke!" And then suddenly everybody turns on her enemy, and she makes a big grand speech. Is she, is she this? I guess it's implying that she's really smart. It's implying that she's really smart. Really? Yeah. How should I put it? You've really grown. Honestly, I still thought of you as a kid. I figured even if you went to the Royal Academy, you'd find it different from what you expected and come home crying. When I said that honestly, Chris gave me a puzzled look. Then she scratched her cheek and slowly shook her head. No, I was a kid. I actually did say it was different from what I expected, just like Papa said. She was listening? Wait, she was listening? You did? When I asked, Chris nodded. I thought the Austria Kingdom was this amazing, beautiful place. Far more than I could imagine. The place, the people. I really thought everyone living here were like gods. Then Chris shook her head and looked straight at me. But it wasn't. It was completely different. So I panicked, and I didn't know what to do. But then I realized something right away. Yeah? The people living here aren't that different. The things they do are the same. The things they have to think about are the same. They worry about the same things. And they suffer in the same ways. 3 years, huh? Time flies. It really does. It took me over 10 years to realize something similar. Compared to that, she was way ahead. I'm trying to think of where Rudius had that awakening moment. It's implying it's an aha moment, obviously. That Chris had an aha moment. I thought this place was going to be like of the gods, and all the princesses and princes everywhere. They're all amazing and beautiful. But then I realized at some point, they're not that different. The things they have to do are the same. The things they have to think about are the same. The things they worry about are the same. And they suffer in the same ways. These people they look different. They have different status, and maybe the reasons why they're doing different things is different, but they all suffer the same. Rudius says in 3 years she figured that out, but for me it took over 10 years to realize that. I don't recall him ever stating something like this, I guess, is the main key thing here. I guess it could be put in the way that when he arrived in this world, he thought it was this fantasy world and all this kind of stuff, and that he's just escaping from his past life, and at some point he realized, that suffering and whatnot. And again, technically it was the point in Volume 12 of The Loss of Paul that he finally, I think, connected. Like, he finally connected to his family and whatnot. Granted, before then, he was already making some sort of bond with Sylphie and everything, but that was like a family moment for him and his father. So maybe it's talking about that. I managed to get by because I realized what Papa and Mama taught me also worked here. But in the end, over these 3 years, I couldn't do anything beyond what you taught me. Even with what happened to Viola earlier, if it had been you, Papa, I think you would have handled it better, more smoothly. How should I put it? Maybe you would have made her repent. You wouldn't have let her suffer like that today. You would have made her reflect beforehand and not have made her go through that misery. And maybe even become friends. Interesting. Oh, once again, just like all the other kids, she believes that Rudius is this, like, magic maker. He's always going to solve everything. He's a genius. He's on that pedestal, everything. But it makes sense, right? The stories that they would get of Rudius and everything that has unfolded in the past is him going up against great foes and making them allies. Atafe. He made Atafe into an ally. Who would have thought? In the end, right here, she's obviously acknowledging Viola's suffering. Even though Viola's doing this, she doesn't want Viola to suffer. I tried to figure out a way of doing that. I couldn't figure it out. Papa probably could have. He probably could have found some way of making sure that Viola didn't do this. I like that, by the way. We laughed about it earlier with that whole thing of her going, please, Viola, just say it was all a joke. Chris legitimately was trying to get her to stop. She knew if she went through with it, she's going to have to trigger that thing that's going to make everybody turn around and point at Viola, and she's going to suffer because of this. Even though Viola was there trying to destroy Chris, she wanted her to stop legitimately because she knew that Viola was going to end up destroying herself. Because in the end, she's not going to take that blame. She's going to tell everybody, all right, point at who's doing this, and they're going to destroy Viola. It was funny then, but she legitimately wanted her to stop because she didn't want Viola to suffer. Girl's too pure. Girl's too pure. And it sucks that in the end, even though she did pull this off, even though she did avoid becoming this villainess that's going to end up having her entire life ruined, in the end, she still feels inadequate compared to Rudius. Like all the other children, still feels like Rudius could have pulled off something amazing. Because Rudius, Papa, who's the greatest ever, somehow manages to win people over rather than just destroying them. He brings people to his side. He makes allies out of people. I'm not sure about that. Even if I said that, I was a bit shaken inside. The way she said that meant that she had more or less planned what had happened earlier. She had plotted and maneuvered behind the scenes to trap that girl. I mean, they literally said that. Rudius, did you not hear what they were talking about? They literally said that. Or at least I think it was Elizabeth that implied that. But I couldn't do it. Her words almost sounded like I could have, but I didn't. Maybe Chris could have settled things before it reached that point. Maybe even before the ceremony began. Why couldn't you? Because I couldn't forgive Viola. And I was jealous too. Okay, humanize the girl. Thank you. It feels like we're kind of playing her up too much. Now we're going to finally give her a little bit of, character here. Refugion's going to finally give her a little bit of flaws. What exactly did that Viola girl do? I didn't know. Probably jealous because she was so close to Edward. I could guess from what happened earlier, but I didn't understand the whole story. It's true, though. The way she felt was pitiful. Still, Viola must have looked down on and hurt many people. Enough for Chris to say she couldn't forgive her. Enough that people felt she deserved what happened to her on a happy day like this. If I had been attending the Royal Academy and seen her behavior up close, or had been one of her victims, I might not have forgiven her either, and things could have ended the same way. I kind of wondering at this point, Refugian has this habit of kind of having Rudius go down a rabbit hole, and then discovering, oh no, Chris meant this. So I don't want to confirm on that or not, No, knowing me, I would have probably gotten caught in a trap and been expelled. In any case, getting someone to repent isn't something you can just make happen. You were jealous too? Yeah, I mean, Viola was good enough to be the best if she actually tried. She was top in etiquette, dressing, art, aesthetics, arithmetic, resource management, everything. But in the subject she didn't like, she didn't put any effort, cheating her way to the top, and ended up graduating as valedictorian. Again, this... It keeps confusing me how they're kind of playing this out. And I guess this is technically the rug pull here, is that the assumption that you have based on what was happening earlier was that Viola herself stole everything from Elizabeth. She was using Elizabeth to gain everything. But it was actually just these parts. Normally, she could have pulled this off if she put the effort into it. But she chose not to and exploited people instead. Chris, seeing that she had the ability to literally have gained this on her own and just avoided everybody, avoided all this. Suddenly, she started stammering and sounded like she was making excuses. She's hiding something. A guy, maybe? No, surely not. But the people around Chris were all handsome, and that Edward guy, he looked like a perfect sculpture chiseled from marble. He might have been something to do with it. No, calm down. Right now, I need to say something meaningful as a father. Is this implying that Rurius sees that she's stammering and was jealous of Viola because she's technically the perfect person for Edward? And that Chris was a little bit jealous of that? And it's only because Viola went after her that she could potentially get Edward? That's what it sounds like from Rurius' perspective he's kind of implying here. Right now, I need to say something meaningful as her father. Oh, Rurius got to be daddy mode. Rurius has to be a dad for once. Well, you know, it might sound strange coming from me, but it's true that your papa has helped a lot of people turn their lives around. Blue Mama, Red Mama, Zenobia, Cliff. A lot of people have said after meeting me, they changed. Well, what about White Mama? He included 2 of the 3 mamas. What about White Mama? But it's not like they changed because Papa was trying to make them change or anything. In the end, there's no way I could really know why they changed their hearts. They realized their own faults by themselves. Maybe my presence acted like a trigger for that, but that's all it ever was. Even if my mouth was torn open, I'd never say that I'm the one who made them change. In the end, they must have changed because they decided to do so themselves. That is such a good way of putting that. It is such an important way of seeing that as well. For Rurius himself, this is great to see things this way because he doesn't get conflated. And he's never done this before. He's never gotten ahead of himself. He's not one to put himself on a pedestal. Oh, I've helped so many people out. I'm really good at helping people. Who am I going to fix this time? I'm so good at fixing people. Let me fix them. No. If anything, he thinks that he's a problem for people. It's good that Rurius sees things this way because he doesn't get conflated. He doesn't feel like he's important. It doesn't feel like he's overly important. It doesn't feel like he is some savior to people. It doesn't get a savior complex. More so, the important thing here is that individuals understand that he's not the reason they change. Yes, you can help people with, their problems. You can give them a little advice. You can give them a little bit of nudge here or there. But what's important to acknowledge is that when they do change, when they take that first step, when they change their lives, when they go for a better route, that it's they themselves that took that step. Somebody comes to you and says, man, I don't know what to do. I think I'm at the end of my rope. I don't think I can make it past this. And you go, hey, look, it's okay. Just try this out or something like that. Or, hey, have you thought about doing this instead? Or, hey, don't worry, give it another shot. Yes, that's great. That person said that, but you took that first step. It's easy for somebody to give advice, but it's more difficult to take that advice and apply it and take that first step. I like that Rurius acknowledges that Zenobia did something. Cliff, he pulled that off. Blue Mama, she changed herself. Red Mama, she's reflected on that and is doing this instead. I like that. I like that acknowledgement. Sure, maybe Viola was helpless, but maybe, just maybe, what happened this time will make her change too, right? Isn't there anyone close to you who slowly came around and changed like that over time? Elizabeth? I'm guessing Elizabeth. Huh? I wonder. Saying that, Chris glanced over her shoulder. Her eyes were fixed on a single girl standing behind her. If I remember correctly, her name was Elizabeth. the one who had been looking so triumphant when Viola was being denounced. Right now, she was chatting pleasantly with a few other students. Her expression was calm. Viola had said that Elizabeth was Chris's enemy, which meant, well, that's probably how it was. The way he helped that Elizabeth girl pay off her debt was brilliant. Was that your idea? Did you carry it out yourself? Well, that was actually a suggestion from Aisha. So I can't really say I thought of it myself. Okay. I thought it was going to be the other girl. Like the initial girl that kind of triggered everything. I don't remember if they even named her. I knew it. I figured as much. When I heard the story, I thought it was a bit too elaborate for Chris to have come up with on her own. But you're the one who carried it out, right? Well, yeah, that's true. Chris made a slightly awkward face, then quickly shook her head. But Papa, I got help from so many people to pull that off. Really, from a lot of people. And not just that. While I was at school, there was almost nothing I did entirely on my own strength. I still think I'm just a kid. Or rather, immature. Again, another sign that she's kind of her father's daughter. Ruiz is the same way, always acknowledging the fact that it's not by his own strength. Ruiz achieves a lot of things through those around him. Sure, you might still be immature, but that Elizabeth girl, at the very end, she helped you, didn't she? Why do you think that is? Because she hated Viola more than me. Because she hated Viola more than she hated me. That's part of it, I suppose. But maybe it's also because you earnestly helped her pay off her debt. Don't you think? I mean, girl was looking at Chris like she was a goddess, so why not? Well, I can't say for sure. Whatever the case, Elizabeth ended up playing a key role in Viola's downfall. I don't know all the details, so I can't speak with certainty. But from her position, she could have easily brought down both Viola and Chris together. That's true. She could have half-truthed it and took down Chris as well. After all, her debt was already paid off. But in the end, she stood by Chris's side until that very last moment. That's what matters. Chris, you still seem dissatisfied with your own strength. But that's fine. No one can do everything perfectly, all on their own. When you don't have enough strength, you get help from others. And when someone else is struggling, you lend them your strength. That's how people live, helping each other again and again. Oh, is this our Rudius with his his massive speech with knowledge that he pours out? Is this that moment? We're only like 4 chapters in at this point. We don't need this moment yet. Like, it feels like every single one of these little redundancy side volumes chapters about different, children, they always build up to this moment where Rudius suddenly just becomes like a poet. It's like out of nowhere, he's this knowledgeable poet that spews out knowledge to the kid, and the kid goes, "Oh, Dad, you're so smart," and it fixes everything. You learned how to do that over these 3 years. Chris saved the students who'd been suffering under the tyranny of Viola. She had admired the Ashra Royal Academy, yet she didn't let herself be swallowed by its atmosphere. She acted according to her own will, doing what she believed was right. Perhaps because of that, amongst all the graduates, she seemed to be the most well-liked. Of course, that might just be parents' bias speaking. Still, you become a fine adult, so hold your head high and graduate with pride. When I said that, Chris's face scrunched up, looking as if she was about to cry, expecting her to burst into tears and throw herself in my arms like she used to. I spread my arms wide and waited. I stayed like that for a few seconds. But though the tears welled up in Chris's eyes, she quickly wiped them away with her hand. Yes, she nodded firmly. It was such a good answer that I couldn't help but feel proud she'd learned to respond like that. But now, where should I put these arms I've been holding open? Poor Rudius. Come, my child. You gotta play it off, Rudius. You just gotta just go over there and just you be the one to initiate it. You be the one to initiate it. It's so dorky. That's so dorky. Get our prolific statements by Rudius moment already. We're not even like halfway through this, and we're already having that moment. It makes you wonder what the rest of this volume's gonna be. Is it gonna switch to Lily at some point? After that, I spent some time talking with Chris, joined by my wives who had been silently listening behind us. She told us about her 3 years at school. Though there had been many hardships, it seemed there had been just as many happy moments. She spoke cheerfully about her friends and all the things that had happened. This is this is sort of giving me the impression that they haven't seen her literally for 3 years. Like, okay, what about the letters? Was she was sending letters that talked about stuff? So maybe she was just keeping a lot of that stuff under wraps, and now she's finally comfortable enough to tell them exactly what happened just because of what unfolded. But like, we're not coming to visit her. Like even Sylphie went and visited Lucy. Nobody's visiting Chris the entire time. Jeez. The look of satisfaction on Edis's face when she first heard that she'd helped a girl who had been bullied was indescribable. Sylphie at first was unaware that Chris was talking about the management of the students' factions. When she finally understood, she was surprised. And when Chris said that she'd learned faction management by asking the foreign royals, just as Roxy had taught her, Roxy looked pleased too. Aw, each one of them helped Chris in their own way. How sweet. After a while, when the stories wound down, my wife said, well, we'll go around and say our farewells, and moved away from us. Just as I was thinking it might be time to stop monopolizing on Chris's attention, I suddenly noticed a girl standing quietly behind her. For a moment, I thought she might be some kind of ghost, but no, I recognized her. She was the one who had wiped Chris's mouth before that commotion had started. She seemed hesitant, as if unsure whether to interrupt the conversation or stay silent. Hello there, young lady. I'm Rudius Grey Rat. So, with a friendly smile, I decided to speak up first. After all, she was one of Chris's friends. The one that was taking care of her dirty mouth. I have to make sure to take care of the one who's making sure she looks good in front of everybody. After all, she was one of Chris's friends. If her friend's dad seemed dark and gloomy, that might make things awkward for Chris. I wanted to play the part as the easygoing father. I meant to be friendly, but she flinched in surprise and hid behind Chris. Don't do it, Refugin. It can't be. No, it can't be Shira's daughter. It don't be Shira's daughter. I would like to see that Shira was able to move on like that and be able to have children, but don't that like literally she passed on her genes and trauma. I meant to be friendly, but she flinched in surprise and hid behind Chris. That's strange. All of these years, I should have gotten pretty good at smiling. I even practice in front of the mirror every day. Yeah, I'm sorry, Rudius. Refugin wants that to be your ongoing joke until the day you die. That is literally your joke. Refugin really likes that joke, Rudius. Papa, let me introduce you. Chris suddenly noticed the girl's presence. She spun her body around and brought the girl hiding behind her out into the front. This is Belle. She's my best friend. And after graduation, she's going to be working as a civil officer for the Lord of the Fotoa region. Hello. The girl called Belle fidgeted as she wanted to hide behind Chris again, but perhaps because she lacked the strength, she couldn't. She kept glancing around nervously as she bowed her head. Belle's a huge fan of yours, Papa. What? Chris, stop it. Don't say that. Why not? You said you definitely wanted to talk to him if you ever met him. Apparently, Belle was a fan of mine. I guess I'm getting pretty well known in the Osro Kingdom. Every year, there's at least 1 or 2 students like this, though they're usually boys who study magic, so this type of fan was rare. It's kind of embarrassing, actually. My name's Belle. I read your paper on lightning magic. I think it's amazing that someone can develop a new branch of magic in this day and age. I really respect you. Ah, yes, thank you. I swear if they bring up her mother... A paper on lightning magic, huh? I did write that. Well, not exactly. I'm actually honestly surprised that it was done under his name. Didn't everything that he credited to Nanahoshi? I thought that at some point they mentioned that, like, besides what Roxy ended up taking for her own, most everything that Rudius wrote, he's wrote to her name in order for her to be found, obviously. Well, not exactly. It was something that came about when I was testing On's transcription skills. She took my dictation, and then Roxy said, "This is incredible," and edited it into a publishable work. So honestly, about half of it was written by Roxy. I'd love to have taken full credit and brag in front of Chris, but it turned out quite well, didn't it? Yes. Well, that's because about half of it was written by my teacher. Your teacher? You mean Teacher Roxy, right? I also read her Theory of Magic Structure in Close Combat. Is she here today? She wouldn't miss her daughter's graduation. Look, she's over there. Where? I can't see her. She's short, so she's hidden right now, but she's definitely there. I can tell. Oh, God. It like took me a split second of like, oh, like that like half of a second where my brain was going, wait, what is he talking about? But then it cuts off that half second point, and it's like, oh, He knows exactly where she is. Oh my gosh. I mean, technically, this girl, Belle, is much shorter. Reese is taller. He's able to see over a lot more people, so you could see where... And Roxy's short. Anyways, moving on. You know my joke. Could you introduce me later? Of course. So the girl understands how wonderful Roxy is, huh? As expected of my daughter, she chose good friends. I'll make sure to remember that girl named Belle. Graduates of the Royal Academy are usually quite talented, but at the same time, many of them come from humble backgrounds. Sometimes, for one reason or another, they're forced to leave the Osprey Kingdom, just like Lilia once did. When that happens, well, my company is more than glad to welcome them. I will give this girl a place for acknowledging Roxy. Chris, while I was talking to Belle, someone else approached. He had a very handsome voice. The vocal charms. He's even better than Luke. When I looked to see who it was, it turned out to be Prince Edward, the same young man who had dramatically broken off his engagement with Lady Viola earlier. That's cruel of you. You promised to introduce me to Lord Rudius. Looks like he wants to get acquainted with me too. Maybe Chris had spoken well of me. But either way, I seem to be quite popular today. As I get older, I find it quite nice to be liked by younger generations. I'm not going to be left behind. They don't just call me old man. They kind of like me. I'm not being lost to the ages. Ed, I told you to wait. You always say that, and they dodge the subject. I'm not dodging it today. Just a little longer, okay, please. Then suddenly, Chris and Edward started flirting. Their conversation seemed normal enough, but they were standing quite close. I don't mind them flirting or whatever, but doing it in front of parents feels a bit... It's kind of sweet, but as a dad, I'd rather you introduce him properly first. Honestly, Chris, looks like you still haven't told him about that yet, have you? I told you before, there's a proper order to these things. That? I couldn't help but ask, and both Chris and Edward snapped their heads towards me. Judging from how flustered Chris looked, it must have been something important. Are they already doing it? Are they already doing it? And maybe he proposed to her. He could be doing it, though. So, geez. Chris waved her hand as if everything had just been ruined. I didn't know what they were planning to tell me, but I could guess it was something that needed my approval. Maybe she was trying to set the mood for a conversation beforehand. That's what we call creating an atmosphere. Like when I compliment Edis by saying, "You look especially beautiful today," then follow up with, "I like your hands. They're the hands of someone who worked hard," and finally ask, "Can I touch your breast?" And she always says yes. I think she would allow it either way, depending on where she's at. I was actually planning on talking to you about it after the party. Okay. At that, Chris cleared her throat, just like Roxy does, and then straightened out her back, ready to speak formally. She moved gracefully, like a proper lady. No, it'd be rude to say like. She truly carried herself with the grace of a lady as she turned to face me. Seeing that, I straightened up my back as well. I like the fact that he gets all serious too. Like it's your daughter talking to him. Like, oh, okay, we're getting formal. I gotta get formal for my daughter too. I'm planning on living in the Osprey Kingdom after I graduate. Wow. Okay, wasn't as much as I thought it was gonna be. So this is what it was about. I see. You might oppose it, Papa, but over these 3 years, I've come to really love the Osprey Kingdom. Papa won't oppose it. Of course, I'd like for us to keep living together in Renoa. I'd like for her to stay the cute, small Chris forever. But that's not possible. And it's not something I should try to make happen. Yeah, and I never really expected Rudius to be this kind of person. He seems to be very open to the idea of, letting people kind of flourish how they want to. I think it was a pretty quick moment in his story with the kids where it kind of established that, and his willingness to kind of not push his own ideals on them. I mean, a lot of it was around, like, Norn and Aisha. It was pretty much established during that time. I like her to stay my cute, small Chris forever, but that's not possible, and it's not something I should try to make happen. People grow up, and growth means change. People gradually change through the people they meet and the experiences they go through. Yeah. That change isn't always a good one. From my point of view, sometimes they change for the worse. It makes me want to yell at them, not to go through that way and drag them back. But I know that's not something I should do. Again, it's like one of those moments that suddenly out of nowhere, Rudius is saying like some really deep stuff. Like, where is this deep stuff coming from out of nowhere? Where did Rudius learn this? Like, suddenly out of nowhere, he's talking like it's not Rudius. It's like, who is this? Who's this? Wait, did we change perspectives and I missed at some point it shifted to somebody else? Who is this person? Sometimes you can't change them when they go down that bad path. You want to stop them. You see they're making a mistake, but you can't stop them. You gotta let them learn for themselves. You can't make their decisions for them. That's literally what it's saying right there. He could find out Chris wants to stay here, and she literally says, I want to stay here because I had this really good idea for this drug smuggling group when we're going to really move a bunch of drugs. Ariel's not going to like it, and she's probably going to disown Edward, but we're going to do it anyways because it sounds really fun. Ruiz would want to stop her, obviously, but she's old enough now. She's making this choice in her life, and she's got to move forward. I'm making a crazy extreme example here, obviously, but she's going down this path, and she's got to learn it for herself. And there's going to be a lot of times where you think you know what's best for them. And that's the big problem that I think a lot of parents are facing is they think they know what's best for their children. Their children see something that is positive for them, and they want to say, don't do that. But the kid has to make the decision now. It's time for them to move forward. It's time for them to make their own mistakes. Branch out on their own. But you want to drag them back. You want to badly drag them back. But I know that's not something I should do because a bad change doesn't necessarily lead to bad results. Sometimes it's precisely because of bad change that a person grows into someone good. Yep. Learn from mistakes or discover what is wrong. That was true for me too. It's because I once lived as a hopeless NEET in my previous life, a terrible state, that I've become who I am today. Whether I've become a good person or not, I don't know. But at least I think I'm better than I was back then. 100%. I mean, that's an easy yes. In all aspects, I would argue against, but again, we don't really know everything about his mindset when he was isekai'd. But seems like in most situations, yes, much better person. Living in the Asura Kingdom might have been a bad influence on Chris. She might grow into someone I don't want her to become, but that's fine. Chris's life belongs to Chris. If she's decided for herself to go that way, to change that way, then I shouldn't oppose it. Still, as a parent, there's a minimum of what I want to make sure of. I want to confirm that this is truly what Chris has decided for herself, that she's aware of it. After all, it's been 3 years since I last saw her. I know she's not just saying she wants to live in Asura out of a simple admiration anymore, but still, just to make sure. You want to stay for a certain guy? You want to stay here for a certain guy? I mean, that's a good thing there. It's fine to sort of kind of get a hint at least of, hey, are you doing this because you want to do it? Just to make sure, is this what you really want? Or is somebody pressuring this into you? Did Ariel come to you and threaten you at some point? Like, is this what you really want? That's a good thing to check. You've liked it since way back, haven't you? Yes, but as I said earlier, the like I felt back then was for the country I imagined in my head. But after living here for 3 years, I got to know the real Asura Kingdom and real people from Asura. And that's when I truly came to love it. The people who live here, the climate, the culture too. Even though there's so many like that Viola girl. Of course, this country has some bad sides and bad people. In fact, maybe even more than other countries. But Her Majesty Ariel and the people of this kingdom are trying their best to make it better. I want to live here, work here, and help with that effort. This is so cool, but I don't get to see how she gets to this. Oh. This is kind of frustrating how very simple this story is. And this hopefully will be a thing where if Refugio ever gets around to throwing this in a light novel redundancy volume, he needs to expand on this. Please expand on this. I mean, he technically did that with the whole situation with Otis and Redundancy 3. Please do that here. I want to know how this girl came to this. Because again, everything leading up to the point where she's called out and wrongfully accused plays it out like this is such a girl. It's like, oh, cool princesses and princes. Yay. I fell over and there's bugs on me. Squeak, but whatever. I'm going to go see the princesses. And then it cuts forward and she's chomping down on meat while there's this big speech happening and everybody's being formal and she's over there chomping down stuff. And then she's like, oh, how dare you? And it makes it all silly. It doesn't give me a sense of this girl really thinking about stuff. It just turns her into kind of a goofy character. And then suddenly out of nowhere, bam, this girl's talking about how she really is passionate about this thing or that thing, and she's building up stuff, and she has a future that she set before her, and she's really all about wanting to help people. This girl really does feel like she is a good individual that has a good head on her shoulders, that wants to, again, have compassion and empathy for people that wanted to destroy her life. She wanted to save Viola. She didn't want to inflict pain upon Viola. I want to know more about this character's inner thoughts. How did she become a person like this? What influenced her? That kind of stuff. I feel like we just skipped to her being fully developed. That sucks. I want to see how she got to here. Refugin, make it happen, man. This feels like you called me to the place, and I didn't even get to smell the food being cooked. I didn't get to hear it sizzle. It just, you dropped the plate in front of me, and it's already done. It's all well done. And it might be a little cold. It's already a little cold. Ugh. Help, huh? How do you plan to help? I've earned the qualifications to serve as a civil official in the royal palace. For now, I'm working as an apprentice under Lord Luke. Luke? Why Luke? Like, is he the... I mean, yeah, he's technically working a lot with us stuff, but, like... Why him? This dude's busy. He ain't gonna be messing with her right now. And that feels a little forced. I'm sorry, Refugin, that feels a little forced. They're trying to get Luke involved with her. Oh, Luke, huh? I didn't hear anything about this from him. I asked Lord Luke to keep it a secret. I want to tell you myself, Papa. Oh, I see. Well, I'll ask Luke about it later. So, she's going to be under Luke. Luke is Ariel's right-hand man, practically in the position of Prime Minister now. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, this feels too forced because, like, this guy's busy. He ain't got time to be apprenticing her. Again, it doesn't make her out like she's some genius. The one thing that she pulled off that was crazy was Aisha's idea. Why would he even give her the time of day? The only way this makes sense is if Luke knew damn well what she was doing in this school and was impressed by it. He would have to have somebody have told him. Somebody went out of their way to tell Luke exactly what was going on in there. And he's like, okay, she got her hand on the pulse. She's doing a good job with this. But even still, like, finding somebody else to deal with it. If she's working under him, even as an apprentice, she'll be right at the core of the kingdom. In time, she'll probably take a position directly assisting Ariel, or even the royal family. She's clearly on the elite career track. As a workplace, it's perfect. If she keeps getting promoted normally, she'll be able to do whatever she dreams of. That means she thought through her life plan properly. That Chris, having a solid life plan, for me, that alone is enough. But still, I'll ask one last thing, just to hear her determination. It's gotta be tough, you know. Do you think you can handle it? Yes, she said that with a completely serious face. I see. An immediate answer, huh? That makes me a little worried. She'll surely face things ahead that are much harsher than she could imagine. Things that would never happen in the past 3 years. Thinking about that, I can't help but feel a little uneasy. Remembering the Chris from before she came to Asra. I like how literally what 4 paragraphs ago, like, he was all about, like, I can't stop her from making mistakes. Like, I personally, upon reading that, went to my own little, like, perspective of that and agreeing with the idea of, like, you can't stop people from making mistakes. You have to let them go. When they choose their path, you gotta let them go. Even if you want to drag them back. Now I'm a little afraid of her doing this. Like, now that she's told me that she's determined, no, I don't know if I want her to go anymore. It's like, Rudius, you sounded so, like, sold on your ideals back there. And now you're backtracking already. But having passion is a good thing. Passion makes anything possible. Just like how, over these 3 years, Chris has grown into someone who can say such things. A voice suddenly called out from behind me. When I turned around, I saw a woman of unparalleled beauty. She was older than me, so she must have been quite an age by now. Yet her beauty had not diminished in the slightest. Maybe she had some long-eared blood in her. No, unlike long-eared races, her beauty had aged properly, gracefully. It was Ariel. At her side, as always, were Isolde and Doga. Isolde was dressed lightly, wearing formal clothes and a sword, but Doga was fully clad in heavy armor. However, even through the helmet, I could somehow tell that there was a gentle face underneath, smiling at me. My Doga. Hey, Rudius. Hey, Doga. Uh-huh. When I looked around, I saw Luke standing behind Ariel. Behind Luke was students watching from a distance. They looked restless, eager to talk to them, but none dared to approach. I've heard the conversation. Most likely, she hadn't just heard it. She must have known beforehand and was just ready for the right moment to step in. I understand your concern, Lord Rudius, but she has learned more than enough about how to live and thrive in the Asra Kingdom through her time at the Asra Royal Academy. Her recent achievements should serve as proof of that. Isn't that right, Luke? Indeed. Christina is well suited for life in Asra Kingdom. What is this? It almost feels like everybody's lining up to try to talk Rudius into this when he literally opened up the conversation with, I have to let her do what she wants to do. And that's important to me. He literally says, it's important to me to let her do whatever she wants to do. And then she's like, okay, I'll do it. And he goes, wait, I don't know if I want to do it. And then suddenly everybody's coming up and saying, Rudius, she could do it. Yeah, she could do it. It's like suddenly you have the Shinji scene where everybody's like clapping and saying, she could do it. She did it. What is this scene? Well, that's not really what I was worried about. Still, if those two, who've been working right at the heart of Asura Kingdom, say so, then it must be true. Again, these two are extremely busy, but sure, let's take their opinion over literally your own and seeing her right in front of you saying that. I just hope it's not just flattery. Even so, that Chris, Papa, what do you think? Chris was looking at me with earnest eyes. Seeing her like that, I suddenly remembered something from a long ago. A distant memory. It was around 10 years after I came to this world, or maybe not even that long ago. I met a particular person back then. He was a man of great intellect, who always watched me scheming about with an amused smile. He was driven by ambition and dreamed of reaching the heart of the Asura Kingdom someday. In the end, the teleportation incident happened, and that ambition was left unfulfilled. Philip? Was he just wanted to get his family back. I don't remember this being like getting to the heart of the Asura Kingdom someday. He just wanted his family back. What are we talking about? Chris is bearing an atmosphere now. Somehow remind me of that man. A man I would never meet again. Philip Boris Gravat. What? I don't get the connection. I don't see it. I legitimately don't see it. Like, this has got to be like, I see something in her eyes or something. It looks like the eyes of Philip or something weird like that. I don't see it anything ambition-wise. Philip had nothing of what Chris desires right here. What I'm getting a sense of with Chris is that she sees the unjust and the inequality of what they're doing, and she wants to help Ariel and Luke break that. She wants to break this hierarchy and the noble crap system that they have going on. She wants to help with that. She wants to help people get from underneath the foot of these nasty individuals and whatnot. And she has this goal in front of her. And Ariel and Luke come up and go, she could do it. Good job, Shinji, Chris. She could totally do this. She's fought and she did this whole thing, so she's really good for this. Rudius sees that and goes, Philip! Why? What does Philip have to do with this? Okay, let's think about Philip. What we got a sense from Philip, again, is that he was involved in this family struggle. He lost against his brother. His brother put him underneath his foot. And when Rudius came across, even though he has given up and he's been losing all of his boys, he's completely destroying his wife. When Rudius shows up, Philip goes, I can use you to get my leg back up and get my family back. And we'll go and fight my brother again. We'll take my family name. I will take the lead of the family. I'll put you up there and you can lead everything and get my family back. I got none of what Chris is doing from Philip. So how are we making a connection to Philip? Unless we're trying to force in, well, that must be the Boreas blood because this is the child of Eris, so obviously it's got to be Philip right here, right? That's what I feel like Refusion's trying to force right now, and I don't see it. I'm sorry. Maybe something will come up, and I'll eat all these words. We'll see. When I think about it, it's only natural. Eris is Philip's daughter. Yeah, we're forced. This is forced. I'm sorry. This is so cheesy. It's forced. Chris is Eris' daughter. That blood runs strong through her. I mean, I can... Yeah, this feels like it's just simply because she's going to be an Asura, and Philip was here too, that it must be the Boreas blood makes them want to be in this kingdom, to take the kingdom. Blood and DNA doesn't work like that. DNA doesn't work like that. It gives a sense of fight. You can see it being a sense of fight. But Philip wasn't a fighter. I'm sorry, I as much as the Philip's end was tragic and broke my heart, Philip wasn't a fighter. Philip got beat and became broken. He let himself get walked over once he was defeated. Granted, he didn't have much of a choice once he got defeated. Let's be perfectly clear. I'm not going to be ignorant of that. He got defeated, and thus there is no really route for him to be able to stand up. He wanted to build back up with Rudius, but he got neutered. He lost and got neutered. He's not a fighter. Saros was a fighter. again, I feel like this is a cheesy connection. This is a cheesy connection. Thinking that, the answer within me became clear. No, it had been clear from the start. Yeah, like I was saying earlier, you literally said let it go. I just need one final push to confirm it. Lady Ariel, Lord Luke. Yes? Please take good care of my daughter. When I raised my head after saying that, the two of them smiled softly. Of course. You can totally... Of course, I'll take your daughter. Yes, I got her. I'll take her. She's mine. I'll take her. She's mine now. When I turned back towards Chris, she looked at me with an expression that was a mix of surprise and hope. Chris, do your best. Yay, I love you, Papa. Get to say it again, yay! After giving a small cheer, Chris leapt forward and hugged me tightly. I like her to stay composed until the end, when we were having a serious talk. But, well, it's fine. My hands, which had been awkwardly left hanging earlier, finally found their place on her back. Besides, this might be the last time Chris hugs me like this. Aww. Just as I was savoring the warmth of my daughter's embrace, I heard someone clear his throat beside Ariel. When I looked over, oh, would you look at that? It was the stunningly handsome Edward. Chris, not if you sold everything. Shouldn't you introduce me as well? Ah, right, you're right. Sorry. Chris quickly let me go and moved to stand next to Edward. Edward wore a perfectly composed smile, an archaic smile, you could say, and stepped forward gracefully. At the same time, Chris motioned towards him with her open palm. Papa, this is Prince Edward. He's my classmate. During school, he helped me many times. And I'm Edward Anemoy Osra. It's an honor to make your acquaintance. The handsome young man greeted me with a flawless etiquette. I somehow managed to return the curtsy. I thought I'd gotten used to dealing with people like Luke, but standing before a young, handsome prince still made me nervous. Well, he's a prince after all, and I'm also speaking in front of younger generation. I should at least show that I can conduct myself properly and speak politely to a royal. I'm Rudy Scrayrat. It's an honor to meet you, Prince Edward. I'm actually more surprised that he hasn't met him yet. But again, they're probably very over here. And whenever Rudy is here, he's going straight to Ariel, get his job done, and go somewhere else. Just surprised that, Edward wasn't in the room or something at some point. But again, once Ariel has the kids, they're probably just ushered off somewhere else. The pleasure's mine. I've long wanted to meet you, Lord Rudius. Between Belle earlier and Edward now, there seem to be quite a few students this year who are interested in me. Because it's... Chris just literally stole the show. What do you think they want to talk to? Her father? And she probably keeps yapping about Rudius all the time. Good grief, it's overwhelming. Oh? I'm glad to hear that. But surely my name doesn't come up that much in the Osra Kingdom. Chris often talks about you. She always says that Lord Rudius is an incredible person. The more I heard about you, well, I suppose I ended up feeling a kind of admiration towards you. Edward smiled brightly as he began sharing stories he'd heard from Chris. He talked about how my eyes sparkled when I discussed magic with Roxy. How even though I'm a magician, I never neglected my physical training like a swordsman. How on my days off, I lounged by my fireplace with Leo, and how I often got knocked out cold after being punched by Edis. What are these stories of admiration? How do you get admiration from these stories? What are we talking about? How embarrassing. Chris, honestly, you don't need to tell him that much. When I glared at her, she started whistling and turning her face away, pretending not to notice. Seeing that, I decided to strike back. I'd make her feel embarrassed for a change. Oh man, is he gonna tell her that she wet the bed or something like that? I see. So then, what's your relationship with Chris? Okay, we can do that too. And the chapter end is like right below my gaze, so I'm guessing it's gonna drop again that they probably are already banging or something. Completely break Rudius. It was meant as payback. No, I don't think so. I don't think Chris would do that though. Again, he's planning on doing this whole stuff at the academy and then go be with Viola right afterwards. I get too much of a feel of a chivalrous person here. I don't think that he would do that. Like actively put his role for her in jeopardy like that. It was meant as payback, something to make Chris blush, but Edward froze for only a moment before suddenly straightening his posture, and, with a serious expression, he said, "With marriage in mind, I would like to pursue a relationship with Chris." Okay. Needless to say, my smile froze instantly. And that is chapter 4. Oh my gosh. I guess we're not going to get Lily. It was like at some point going through this chapter, I'm like, wow, we're kind of wrapping things up. We're going to kind of move on. It's like she's chosen her path and everything. I mean, we could probably jump into some, some after story about, what she ends up doing in the Ashra Kingdom, and then eventually find out that she's planning on going to the same fortress that, Sieg and Otis are at. She's going to go there to, like, I don't know, to see if they're, treating the commoners properly up there. And then she's going to be caught in this big fight between Sieg and Otis and die as well. Something like that. Some future story that she's involved with the conflict that ends up with one of the two of them dead. Or her dead. But no, it looks like we're going to just kind of keep digging into this. I don't know, maybe the next chapter 5 is time to let go of one's child, and it's probably going to be a lot of Rudius, or maybe Edis, struggling with that, letting her go to Ashra, which has seemingly not been a single issue with any of the other kids. It has literally at this point has not been a problem for Rudius or anybody. Like, even with Sieg, it's like, all right, boy, here, have a helmet and take care, kiddo. Like, none of these have seemed to have any problems so far. But now we're suddenly going to have an issue with letting Chris go. As I said earlier, I think this last 2 chapters has really highlighted what's probably going to end up being my biggest beef of this particular story. As much as I find this a lot of fun, like through and through, this has been a fun story so far. It's just, again, the villainous story. Refugin has basically taken Chris and put her into the villainous trope. And it's been fun in that regard. And it's got some really good story building here and really giving me a cool look at what Chris becomes. But there's the emphasis there. I'm a little bummed to just see the end result of Chris. Like, it feels like we could have just said that Chris at some point joins the Ashra Kingdom and helps people that are, treated incorrectly by this hierarchy system they've kind of developed, and the mean, nasty nobles that mistreat people that are lower class nobles or whatever. I would have loved to have got a sense from her perspective how Chris became this. Because I think what Chris has become is something that's really cool. Like, of Otis, Sieg, all of them, Chris's character has turned into one of the coolest, like one of the most respectable children of Rudius' family. What she has done and what it seems like she wants to do in the future is really noble. It just sucks that we don't know how she got to there. It's a bummer. It's a bummer. Anyways, I'm going to call it there. Thank you guys so much for dropping by for the premiere. Hey, chat. Hope you had a fun Mushoku Monday, as always. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week after Mushoku Monday concludes. I greatly appreciate you guys' support, your kind words. All that stuff means a great deal to me. As per usual, greatly appreciate it. Support channel monetarily through Patreon, tips, links, super thanks, memberships, all that stuff. Thank you. But until next week, until the last of the... Was it the last to leave the nest? The last part of the last one to leave the nest? Yeah, take care. When Viola looked around, the students all nodded. When Viola looked, remembering the Chris from before. Then suddenly, Chris and Edward started fighting. Then suddenly, Chris and Edward started flirting. Is that flirting? Okay, I wasn't getting the tone proper in reading that, apparently. Right now, in this place, everyone involved was present. Edward and Viola, the two... It must be Edward that's talking, I guess. I hate this crap so much.